Welcome to Historical Context with a Historian, and today we are talking about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Of course, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is never actually mentioned in this book, in the Trading Post Mystery, but you can tell he's there because the Santa Claus display that the Hollisters buy to go on the roof of the Trading Post has a lead reindeer with a nose that lights up, and we all know who that is. So clearly by the 1950s, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was enough of a thing in pop culture that Jerry West put him in this book. He's part of the display that the Hollisters buy. Now, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was not always part of the idea of Santa and his reindeer. Santa and his reindeer originally came from the famous poem called A Visit from St. Nicholas. Everyone knows it as "'Twas the night before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse," etc. That's where the idea of Santa and his sleigh and his 8 reindeer originally came from. Rudolph came along a little bit later. In fact, he first appeared in a book in 1939, which you can see here. And you'll also perhaps notice that he does not in fact look in any way like a reindeer. This would continue to be a problem in portrayals of Santa and his reindeer. They continue to look like, I'm not sure what kind of deer, white-tailed deer maybe, but this is what a reindeer actually looks like. Portrayals of Santa's reindeer don't tend to really look like that. They tend to look more like white-tailed deer or something else. Unfortunately, this initial book sort of perpetuated that little problem. But in any case, 1939, this book was first published. A decade later, in 1949, the song that we all know, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, here's a copy of the cover of it, the cover art. It was a record. That came out. So by the time this book was published, the time the Hollisters were celebrating Christmas in this book, the idea of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer would have been around, and the song would have been around. However, probably the most famous visual, I guess, of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is actually not the book. It's actually the stop-motion animation movie TV special, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but that didn't exist yet. That came out in the 60s. You can see the famous imagery here of that. So that became sort of the gold standard. You can see, again, doesn't look like a reindeer. But that became sort of the gold standard for what people think of as Rudolph. But at the time when this book was published, it would have been the original book, and it would have been the song that the Hollisters were thinking of, and that, of course, the man who made the Santa Claus display was thinking of. When he created this reindeer with the light-up nose, he would have been thinking of Rudolph. But at that time, Rudolph would have been a fairly new addition to the story of Santa, but certainly one that was very beloved, very popular, and certainly very enduring. I mean, even today, there's a tendency to think, well, Santa has a lead reindeer with a red nose that lights up. So Rudolph is still very much a part of this idea of Santa and his reindeer, but it goes back less than 100 years. It doesn't go back as far as the idea of reindeer in the first place. But certainly by the time of the Hollisters, Rudolph was very popular and well known, to the extent that not only did Jerry West put him in the book, but he didn't even have to say who it was. He just said the lead reindeer with a light-up nose, and you know it's Rudolph. Certainly his readers in the 1950s would also have known that, or he would have been more specific. So this idea of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer certainly became wildly popular and is still very much with us.